Hello, my name is Rosa Elena Gomez and I'm going to talk about task-based language teaching. In this work, I wrote about what is a task, some objectives, a background, the approach of features, the features of TBL, teachers and learners roles, teacher's profile, and some examples of exercises and tasks. How do we design activities, advantages and disadvantages, and finally I wrote a conclusion. TBL as a communicative approach grew out of sociolinguistics in the 1970s. This approach is featured by go to an efficient communication and understanding that just handling grammar and vocabulary in an EFL. Communication involves the development of communicative competence. What is a task? A task, we have many concepts about what is a task. One of them says that a task has four main characteristics. A task involves a primary focus on meaning, has some kind of gap. The participants choose the linguistic resources needed to complete the task. A task has a clearly defined outcome. It was said by Rod Ellis. William and Brandon said that a task is any activity that learners engage into process of learning a language. Brown said that a task is a range of learning activities from the simple and brief exercises to more complex and lengthy activities such as group problem solving or simulation and decision making. Another concept says that a task is an activity which requires learners to arrive at an outcome from given information through some process of thought and which allow learners to control and regulate the process was regarded as a task. But what is task-based learning? Task-based learning is also known as task-based language learning or TBLL, which is more and also known as task-based language teaching or TBLT, or simple task-based instruction or TBI. This approach focuses on the use of authentic language and on asking students to do meaningful tasks using the target language. Such tasks can include visiting a doctor, conducting an interview, or calling customer service for help. Assessment is primarily based on task outcome rather than an accuracy of language forms. Some people said task-based learning is bringing the real world into the classroom. The objectives of TBL are give to learners confidence in trying out whatever language they know, give them experience of a spontaneous interaction, give learners the chance to benefit from noticing how others express similar meanings, the chances for negotiating turns to speak. The background of TBL started the 1970s as one of the most talked about recent methods can be traced back to the strong communicative approach, where teaching is done entirely through communicative task. There is no set grammar syllabus, but focusing on language use after task has been completed, is widely accepted as an aid to acquisition, and task repetition gives students the chance to practice new language. Some people say that the strong communicative approach states that language is acquired through communication. It is not just a question of using communicative activities to active passive knowledge of the language that has been pre-taught at an early stage. The belief is that communicative confidence only develops if students are thrown in at the deep end and required to carry out tasks that demand real-life communication rather than a communicative activity being a chance for students to show what they can do or to use what they have learned. TBI offers innovation, public and private interaction, and reflection. The features of TBL are learning a language by doing things with it. The situations should be as real as possible. Language activities should always be integrated with culture. Activities should be for expressing ideas instead of parroting things. The students are centered, not teacher-centered. Students are encouraged to use language creativity, and activities of different skills should be integrated also. Teacher and student have different roles, and they are not traditional roles. Teacher roles are based on preparing learners for tasks, design the task, act as a monitor of the class, and as an advisor. Teacher as a chairperson of the appraiser of the fulfillment of the task. In the other hand, student roles means that they have to work in groups. They have to monitoring between their own group, and they have to take a risk and to be innovator. TBL teacher's profile, it's different from the traditional teacher profile. He has to be a person with ability to communicate their love of knowledge and learning. They have he or she need a great enthusiasm combined with a good imagination, considerable fluency with the power of speech combined with the power of illustration, a strong belief in the importance of instruction for the betterment of all, a great power of observation, willingness to reflect and modify instructions. He or she shouldn't be go to the perfection, but improvement. And a teacher has have to be rapport with the students. Exercises are mainly for checking the command of language knowledge, reviewing and consolidating language knowledge, drilling on language forms, working in rather mechanical drills such as filling blanks, matching, choosing the right answer, translating separate sentences, checking answers, locating the right sound, arriving at one unified answer for one question, arousing students' interest, doing things. It involves communicating ideas, combining information, solving problems, working in contexts, involving more than one language knowledge or skill, analyzing, discussing, negotiating, working in pairs or groups, and allowing different end products. Some of the examples of language learning tasks could be act out a sketch in the textbook, listen to a talk and write out what you agree and don't agree, look at the pictures in the textbook and write captions. Students look at picture of two persons, for example, and say how they are similar or different. Any TBL task has a method of or a framework. Teacher has 4 stages: pre-task, task preparation, task realization, and post-task. Pre-task means that teachers choose materials related to the task. Chosen materials will serve as a springboard to the topic content. Task preparation means that teachers introduce the topic and task. Students prepare their own inputs for the task. The other stage, task realization, includes the students planning a report, the student producing a poster or leaflet for distribution, or giving a presentation. After we have at last post-task. It means knowledge focus. Teachers evaluate the students' reports for presentations. Understanding the knowledge, teachers reflect. They evaluate the results. How we design activities for class or textbook? Well, language tasks are necessary for real-world tasks arouse more interest. Set a defined aim for each task-based activity. Provide the students with necessary materials or guide them in finding them. Give the students some ideas about the procedure for fulfilling the task. Define clearly the role of the student, the role of the teacher or parent. Set the time for the fulfillment of the task. Say the form of the feedback, and set the standard and form the assessment of the performance. Some example of tasks for develop listening skill could be: listen to a story and answer questions, listen to the description of people in a picture and point out who is who, listen to a description of a person and try to draw a picture of him or her, listen to the recording of an argument and try to write a report of it and give your own idea about the matter. Some example of tasks to develop speaking skills could be: describe one of the students in the class, describe a job, have a group of students act as members of a family and discuss about a matter, give the students a cartoon picture and have him or her describe it, and so. Some example of tasks for reading, to develop reading skills, could be: students must read the caption of picture and tell the class what they are about. Make a student read the manual of an electrical or electronic apparatus and tell the class how to operate it. Read the biography or autobiography of a person and write a chronological table of his or her life, fill in the blanks with the right words, etc. Some example of tasks to develop writing skill could be: show the students the picture of two persons and have them write about their differences, or read to students a story and have them write it out, write a report of a book or story, provide part of a story and have the students complete it, have students write about topical matters they read in the web, and so. The tasks has to be different for beginning and for advanced learners. Tasks for beginning learners could be short tasks that draw on information they already possess and call for more comprehension than production. Beginners should not have to perform, for example, critical or evaluative tasks if they are not ready for them. On the other hand, for advanced learners, we have more handled tasks that extend over several days or weeks, call for a great deal of new and known information, often require complex processing such as evaluation, comparison, and presentation. What are the advantages of TBL? The most important advantage of TBL are that the tasks are closer to real-life communicative situations. A natural context is developed from the students' experiences with the language that is personalized and relevant for them. Students are more motivated to absorb the language, give teachers the opportunity to assess learners' progress by encouraging students to plan and be more ambitious in the language they use. There is an emphasis on tasks the students' own personalities. Which are the disadvantages? They are fewer, but task-based learning requires a high level of creativity and initiative on the part of the teacher. If the teachers are limited to more traditional roles or do not have time and resources to implement tasks-based learning teaching type of teaching may be impossible. Some learners revert to mother tongue when things get difficult or if the group feels impatient. As a conclusion, I can say that having learned TBL made me arrive at the conclusion that about the application of this approach. First of all, we should adopt a more communicative view of curriculum, where knowledge is not mostly pre-established. Secondly, tasks must be selected and sequenced according to the learner's communicative needs or motivations. It means that teachers must discover those which they would need to do outside the classroom. Thirdly, communicative tasks must be used gradually according to the level of interaction, the negotiation of meaning, and the macro functions development. Finally, more real-world tasks would be applied where learners approximate the sort of tasks required of them in the classroom. Thank you for your attention.